says they're lead free, then they don't need to do it every 3 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If you could show me that, because that's not
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
understood that, it was just
I
a,
got
it was a one-time, just.
No, I have it all, I have it all here. As far as shared services go, there are other municipalities that do it. It actually says that, let's see. Municipalities that do not maintain such local agencies shall hire a certified lead evaluation contractor to perform such inspections. So, in talking to the construction officials over there, nobody's lead certified, so we could bring in a certified person.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, what's the class for our people to get certified, and is there somebody already in a town, another building inspector who's certified that we could already have a
It's a
shared?
good question, I
If
don't
you're not
know.
mistaken, it's just 1 week, right, for certification?
I don't know, I have to find out.
Something
I'll
like
send you a certificate.
Okay, I have to find out, it's a good question, but the point is that it's a statute that we have to comply with, so, you know, we need to move forward. So I'll do some more research, I'll bring it back to the council and we'll discuss it further. Okay, the only other thing I had here was, just to let the council know, I was over there meeting with Bill and Connor again today, we're talking about, digitizing all the documentation that's over there, all the plans. There's a separate process for getting all the records up there, but we met with, one guy today, and he gave us kind of an estimate, or he gave them an estimate on, you know, how much it would be to do that. I also asked if we could do it, because Tyler, I believe you're trying to do the same thing with the police department, fire department, so we want to see if we can kind of combine it all together to make one service. But they would essentially come in, they take all the documents, they'd scan them all in, takes a couple months to do it all, and then they would give us a drive that would have all this stuff, and then those documents are digitized forever. So it's, as we're getting more quotes, I can bring it back, right, and let the council know what the cost is, but it's a.
So doesn't that SDL that they just hired, don't they do it?
SDL is a records management software. They don't actually do the scanning. They actually recommended the company that came in today. We called Tom Hurley, and Tom recommended this guy to come in to do all the scanning for us, so that's what we meant.
Because when we were down at the league, I did talk to SDL down there, and
Yeah.
that was one of the things that the gentleman told me that they would be able to do is scan that stuff.
Yeah, I think the difference is if SDL does it, they want it to be on their software. This allows us to scan the documents in, and then we can use whatever software we want. So I know we have a contract with SDL, but if that falls apart or whatever in a couple of years, right, we would still own the data that way if we do it through this company. So
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
yeah, so I'll get back to the quotes, and that's all I have for now.
Sorry?
Nothing for comment.
Yes. So, finance would like to propose to the council something that we did last year, I believe it was last year, where we invited the department heads to do a budget presentation to the full council. Not everyone wants to do that or, has anything they really want to come before the council for. They just would use their committee, liaison to share their budget changes, but if there was something in particular that they wanted to talk about, I believe we had our chiefs last year came before us and discussed. So I just wanted to see if any council members had any opposition to that or any feelings about doing that, offering that opportunity to department heads.
I spoke with a couple of mine, and they seemed essentially in favor. I said, you know, I'd be happy to do it, but no one's gonna understand the budget than the person that did it, better than the person that did it. So, I mean, I'm definitely in favor if they'd want to. Again, if not, I think we can, but I think it could be beneficial and save time to have, you know, again, the person
We're
that wrote
talking
the
about
budget.
10 minutes out of
presenting it.
meeting, you know, quick.
Right, well, even just for questions, if someone asks me a question, I don't know, then I have to ask and then wait till the next meeting. If they're here in front of us, we can get a direct answer and
You
move
know,
forward.
The meetings are at, just something to think about, the meetings are at 6 o'clock, these people are done at 4:30. I don't know.
Oh,
a
no,
lot of
council
them-
meeting, before the budget meetings. So in February, 10 minutes, if they want to come during conference and present their budget. That's what we did last time. We didn't do it at the budget meeting, we did it
God
prior
forbid.
to the budget. Yeah, those meetings are long.
But
already.
still, I mean,
They can come at any council meeting, any
You're talking at a
department head
7:30
can
meeting.
come at our council meeting, it's a public meeting. But this time they're gonna be limited
I
because
just
they're talking
wanted to
about
see
the
if you
report.
wanted to ask your liaison, ask your department head if they would be interested in doing that, if they have any need to do that. If not, they don't have to, but,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worth the question.
okay.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, exactly what Tyler said. Sometimes you don't understand, you know, what the department head needs, they're there, they can answer the question quickly instead of losing time. And, you know, we had a situation with radios with the fire department. We only ordered X amount. Next year there was more money. We could have saved money if we had ordered them all. So I think it's important, at least to have the opportunity.
That's it? Okay.
Yes.
I'm okay for now. No, it just made mainly just what the
Everybody
chief
good?
did before.
So yeah, just let us know how that goes. One other thing, another thing, the business directory that's up on our website, it's not really being maintained or updated, so it's kind of obsolete. If people go there looking for a business, it could be out of business, there could be a new business that's not listed. Since it's not being updated, I do know that Downtown Morris Plains is working on a very up-to-date, modern type of business directory that's gonna be pictures and all kinds of information about the businesses. So my recommendation is when they do launch it, that we take our business directory down and just perhaps say that, Downtown Morris Plains has one available.
Or you put a link on ours.
Yeah, and then that, we just would,
I'm sure they have.
one thing that they asked though is that we could cooperate with them if we know that there's going to be a new business coming or whatever, that we share that information, or if somebody goes out of business and they don't know about it, because sometimes we get that information before they do. So it's sort of a collaborative approach, they'll help, and they'll help us, we'll help them.
Yeah, I've talked to Allison about that.
Oh, great.
Just like 520 and whatnot, we're invited them to the grand opening and ribbon cutting and whatnot too, so.
All right, and then the AARP challenge grant, typically $10,000 to $20,000. There's new categories this year. We used this for the crosswalk at Franklin going across to Robert's Garden a couple years ago. And I know I talked to the mayor about it, but I don't know if you all heard that we've been looking at doing the lighting, the path from Court Road, the end of Court Road and the end of Beach Road to the train station. Apparently the residents that live on American Road have said that the lighting is inadequate, and we were looking at pricing that out. But if we could apply for this grant, there are some 55 and over housing in American that would, because I know they do look at this being something that benefits people of all ages in the community. So it provides them a safe passage to the train station from their community. And anybody have any thoughts about doing that, applying for that grant for that purpose?
It's a no-brainer. We had Jersey Central, as you know, put lights up there on either end. There's a long strip there in the middle. It's inadequate.
I've talked to multiple
We
residents.
told them over there that we were gonna.
Yeah, expressed concern, that it's dark and
Yes.
they trip, and especially when it's winter, it's darker earlier, it's icy, so.
So if we can get a little financial help, it won't cover everything.
It might.
And then one more thing, there's been discussion about, it's required now by the state to have a qualified purchasing agent, which is a 3-year certification process. We don't have one in the borough. We're lean staff here. And so we are looking at how we're gonna fill that hole, because right now a lot of the burden falls on the attorney or our CFO to try to get these RFQs and RFPs written and takes them away from the other responsibilities that they have. So we want to look at either hiring part-time or a shared service. So now we're at the point where we need to define the scope of what that role will look like, so that we can put something together. When we've had a couple towns say they would be interested in looking into a shared service, but we have to get a little more data around that. So that's what we're working on.
It's gonna kill rec,
Excuse me?
it's gonna hurt rec. The procurement cards.
Oh, that we can't use
Everybody
the,
just has to think ahead now a little bit like we used to, but unfortunately that just got taken away by the state, so.
and that's it for now.
Okay.
Joan, where are you? There she is. Not for this part.
And Tyler, you have nothing?
No, it's just what the chief talked about with you guys before, so.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry,
Alright.
From the party, we'll go?
Do you want to talk about that? I didn't prepare any.
Okay,
Okay, well, no, let's talk about it. So, our farmer's market last year, so we moved it under buildings and grounds as a liaison. So whoever is our new liaison for buildings and grounds will have the farmer's market as one of their responsibilities for reporting out and making sure everything's going well. But we had a volunteer from the council last year who was our market manager, and that was Joan. Thank you very much, Joan. It was a great Joan has had to step back from some of her responsibilities, and honestly, anybody who wants to give up, 19 summer Saturdays that's a lot, and one winter Saturday. So we're looking at ways we can continue to keep the market going, and, you know, looking at different options for that. So one of the suggestions was to, and I didn't talk about this kind of came up last minute, was to consider having a, like an advisory board similar to, we have a rec board or whatever, who would work together on that, or let's say the teen center board, right? So teen center board runs all of the events for the teen center students. So somebody would be maybe responsible for fundraising and sponsorship. Somebody would be responsible for publicity and social media. Somebody would be responsible for getting volunteers to come on those Saturdays so we could divide it up and not just have the same person every week. And then somebody would be leading the management of the vendor paperwork and all the applications and fees that have to happen. So that was one of the suggestions that we had, and make an opportunity for the residents to volunteer for a committee that would be meaningful and impactful in the community, and move it forward that way as less of a burden for one person as a volunteer.
So,
See how that,
sorry, just a quick question, so you're, that, it would fall under buildings and grounds is where you think it should?
Well, I think we decided
I
that
think
last
that's
year.
right.
We didn't put it, actually, we didn't put it on the
it's
list.
not on there, but I think that's.
But we talked about that being the liaison role, since it's on public property.
And then, does that mean the advisory board would be whoever the committee is for buildings and grounds, or would it be a separate committee?
So they would be their own volunteer committee.
Okay.
But they would be, the liaison would be buildings and grounds. Does that make sense?
Got it.
The other option is to hire somebody, because honestly, Joan and I think Sue McCluskey broke the mold on somebody who wants to do that for 20 Saturdays out of their year, especially in the summer. So that's gonna be tough to fill. Those are big shoes to fill. So the other option is to look at hiring somebody to do that, similar to, like, we have somebody at the recycling center every Saturday, you know, or we have the teen center coordinator who's paid position, you know, rather than a volunteer, because it's just a big responsibility and a lot of time.
Let's try and volunteer first.
All right, so we'll look at putting something together to recruit for an advisory.
Okay. So just a couple things I probably have for you.
Sure.
As far as ordinances, we have to update our short-term rental ordinance.
Yep.
Okay, so that's something we can work on. Sal, I need you to just stay in touch with Dennis about these, the maps. I know he's working on it.
Oh, yeah.
He's got it, so if you can just follow up with him on that. And then a parking ordinance updated for, trucks and trailers, that went with our other ordinance, as far as construction vehicles go. So you'll be able to work with the chief. I think John may have some of that information already, about the trucks and the trailers for commercial.
Oh, yeah, we started working.
Right. And also an updated ordinance for warehouse permitting fees. We'll have to-
Warehouse
Permitting fees, you'll work with Bill O'Connor.
Yep. We talked about that today a little bit.
There's a new state statute, and
Yep.
we have to comply with that state
Yep,
statute.
yep.
Just a couple things on your radar.
Yep.
And I think that brings us to 8:30. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't think anybody would.
For those that don't know what's going on, we're gonna take a break and then come back at 8:30 for our actual council meeting. So, take a bio break.
That's it. Now if you
Say again?
right up
Of course,
here,
yeah.
click record right up here, there's a pause button. So you can pause it, and when you want to pause, so it stops. But then when you hit it again, it'll keep recording again.
So, like, two different things to
It's for it's better to do a pause just after one thing. So just for next time. Just like pause. You can put it together, So you can either put this in here and move out to zero or move back to now, or you can also, it's harder to do it this way, but you can just do it around. So hold and like, yep, there you go.
That's
But two at the start, I guess two starts at two, and one, but then I could probably watch it. And then you kind of move around and see what whoever's
So we used to have two. We used to have this, and we used to have my dad's, before it was a councilman. We had his phone recording it, so he was recording things on his phone and was doing it on the cube. We have a camcorder at home that we were gonna bring in soon, and we're gonna actually record the meetings on an actual camera. Well, you weren't there to see it, so that's a good thing, right? So there really isn't a difference. The camcorders tend to record longer and have more storage space, but it doesn't really matter.
But okay, so you go to the YouTube channel, if someone's home now, they can be watching what you're doing.
Yes.
So tomorrow, can they watch yours, or will they have to wait for him to finally upload this?
They'll have to. What do you mean?
I mean, is this being recorded,
So this
streaming, or is it actually stored?
It's doing both. It's streaming and at this. So later tonight when we end it, it also uploads it to the YouTube channel, so you can go back and rewatch. It is. I don't know why he wanted to do two.
Are you here at every meeting?
Every council.
Every council. Okay, so council
And then we have other people recording. So my dad, he's the creator of the YouTube channel. So he's the only one who can stream it. But other people come in and they record it. They send it to him and he uploads it.
They have all the addresses.
How am I going to send this thing? I can't do it in the email. How am I going to upload this thing?
You could probably ask him. I think he has a Google Drive that you can use it on. You could take it from the Google Drive.
Okay, so I have one already saved, and now this on pause. So basically, maybe I'll just stop it and start. So let me just stop. Now it's composed. And I'll start the second one, and then I'll send them two. So that little one in the middle.
He can plug them together.
What grade are you in school?
9. So I'm a freshman.
Are you like one of the tallest ones of your buddies?
Yes, one of my friends.
You're 6 feet, right? You're 6 feet?
5'10", 5'11", I think. I'm like 6 feet. Yeah, I'm supposed to be 6'3".
What do you mean you're supposed to be?
So that's what the doctors told me. No, well, so
Please stand up and please join me in the
So you can
pledge of
record.
allegiance and prayer, please, and then we'll be,
no, okay.
if you would remain standing for a moment of silence, please. pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we ask you to bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that in fulfilling their public trust, every deliberation will result in actions that will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Morris Plains. Amen. If you please remain standing for a moment of silence for Sydney Leach. She was the Assistant Director to the Morris County Park Commission for over 20 years, and on the Planning Board here at Morris Plains for 20 years. Thank you.
Musical chairs. Sal, you first.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here tonight, and I'm going to go off the script here a little bit. We do have a vacant spot. We had interviews this evening and conducted or interviewed 3 fantastic candidates that are here with us tonight. So we have Mike Ivey is one of them. We have Heather Buckman, and Rosario DeNova. And it was a very close decision. So Sal has a resolution to read.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2025-29A, Borough Council appointment. Be resolved that Michael Ivey be temporarily appointed to fulfill the unexpired term of the Borough Council vacancy occurring as a result of the resignation of Councilwoman Joann Dugan, subject to the following conditions. 1. This temporary appointment shall be effective Thursday, January 30th, 2025, through December 31st, 2025. 2. Pursuant to New Jersey State A. 40A semicolon 16-21, this appointment shall expire December 31st, 2025.
Sal, you're moving that resolution, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese,
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mr. Pontier,
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Just before we do this, you volunteered to do this. Is that correct?
2 meetings a month.
Maybe, what would you like to hold the Bible for you? And we're gonna have another ceremony, maybe John, maybe Tina. We will have a more formal swearing in at our next meeting, so this is just, you're going to left hand on the Bible, hold up your right hand. You gotta turn this way, everybody wants to see. Repeat after me. I, Mike Ivey,
I, Michael Ivey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Councilman
of the office of Councilman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations to
Thank
you.
you, sir.
I know it's really not flashy or anything, but we do have, listen, we work like this around here, so. Congratulations to you, and you want to say something now, or wait till next week? Okay, very good. Congratulations, thank you. Thank you to the other 2 candidates, you guys were, good job.
Remember, 50 cents? No.
14 cents.
14 cents?
No Notice to members of the governing body and borough staff, any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purpose of borough business. We do have mayor's appointments. I hereby appoint the following person to the offices stated and for the term specified, amending the January 7th appointments. Planning Board, Mary Ann Stecker, Class 2, 1 year, term expires 12/31/25. Andrew Wolf, Class 4, 4 years, to fill the unexpired term of Mary Ann Stecker, whose term expires on 12/31/27. We do have approval of minutes. Mr. Cortese.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everybody. What a good crowd. Joan, it all came because of you and we miss you. We love you. Thank you. Give everybody, give it up. All right, where was I?
Approval of minutes.
Approval of minutes. Approval of minutes for the conference, executive, and regular meeting, December 19th, 2024. I need a second? No?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You got to abstain.
And abstain.
Abstain.
Bill, Tyler, and Mike abstain.
Do we have enough?
Yeah, and me.
Okay, you break the time? Okay. Just double checking. Approval of minutes for the regular December 26th meeting, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Come
All
on,
in
guys.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Once again, opposed, or abstained by Bill, Tyler, and Mike.
Approval of minutes for our reorg meeting, January 7th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Again, Mike, Tyler, and.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, just Mike.
Just Mike Ivey this time.
Abstained. Very good, that's a little
That'll be the
confusing.
last time you fail.
I think that's a first, too.
Yeah.
Approval of consent agenda.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Cortez.
All right, approval of consent agenda reports for the Police Department, December 2024, Municipal Court, December 2024, Animal Control, December 2024, Annual Report 2024, Building Inspector, December 2024, Grant Writer, December 2024, Borough Clerk, December 2024, Animal Licensing, December 2024, Tax Collector, December 2024, Annual Report 2024, Treasurer, Annual 2024 Report, Fire Prevention Annual 2024 Report. Resolution 2025-30 entitled Municipal Recycling Tonnage Grant Application, Borough Morris Plains. Resolution 2025-31 entitled Approving Settlement on Appeal from Assessment 520 Realty Management LLC versus Morris Plains Borough Block 27 Lot 28-520 Speedwell Avenue. Docket number semicolon 001-600-2024. Morris County. Our file number is 11-974. That's 11,974. Resolution 2025-32 entitled HSA Morris Plains Raffle License Number 347-25. Resolution 2025-33 entitled Resolution Establishing Hours of Employment for the Fire Prevention Official. Resolution 2025-34 entitled A Resolution Authorizing the Hiring Process and Testing for Appointment of a Police Officer to the Morris Plains Police Department. The mayor be authorized to execute the amendment to the agreement between Delta Dental Plan of New Jersey, Inc. and the Borough of Morris Plains, incorporating a 2-year, 24-month renewal for the period April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2027. The Borough Council approved the membership application of Jake Dobson, 42 Gale Road, Morris Plains, as a member of the Morris Plains Fire Department. Chris Shea, Fire Prevention Official, be granted permission to carry 35 hours of vacation time from 2024 to 2025, which shall be used by March 31st, 2025. The resignation of Nicole Saranita, Clerk and Typist, Borough Clerk's Office, be accepted effective January 31st, 2025. Sorry, what a break. The mayor be authorized to sign the Police Department 2025 DDEF, that's in parentheses, Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund, reimbursement request package from New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. The police department be authorized to advertise for the position of substitute crossing guard. The retirement of Carleen Leahy, Marsh Plains Recreation Director and Secretary to the Marsh Plains Recreation Commission be accepted, effective February 20th, 2025. The Borough Clerk be authorized to advertise for the position of Recreation Director and Recreation Secretary. The Mayor be authorized to execute 3 development agreements between the Borough of Marsh Plains and the Tabor Road Owner LLC for Block 151, Lot 2.01 that have been approved by the Borough Attorney pursuant to the Planning Board Resolution 23-11. Having polled the council on January 27th, the Borough Clerk be authorized to advertise for the position of Clerk Typist. And also that the Borough Clerk be authorized to advertise the change in time of our February 6th meeting from, and to give public notice from 7:30 to 6:30 p.m. for our conference meeting. That's all.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy, roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese,
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mr. Pontier,
Yes.
Ms. Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Abstain.
So just a couple of things I'd like to mention on the consent agenda is, first of all, there's a 0% increase to the Delta plan, and they're holding their price for 2 years, so that was a good thing. I'd like to thank Nicole, who's worked in the clerk's office, and Carleen Leahy, who was a big part of REC for over 17 years. She worked over there, so congratulations to her, and a big thank you to both of them who've certainly been beneficial here in the borough. Moving on to public invitation for discussion. See, no one sneaking up.
I didn't want to go first.
Somebody always has to be first.
Lisa Schroeder, 97 Maple Avenue. I have a question about Ordinance 14/2023, probably no surprise. As we saw with the McDonald's hearings, my personal observation is that that ordinance needs to be revisited and all of the new uses be more thoroughly analyzed for impact on the town. I think this was raised at the reorg meeting, that this was a topic that this board or this council was going to be looking into. I was just curious what the status is of that, and is it possible? I don't know. This is why we have the borough attorney. Can you like freeze the ordinance until better, the evaluation has occurred? I'm just curious what's the status of that topic.
So we have an ordinance committee, which Bill is in charge of, so he can update you on the status of that, if any, and John can address the other part of your question.
You want to go first, Jim?
I guess I'll go first.
Somebody's got to be.
So to answer your question, no, there's not a mechanism by which either I as a borough attorney or this council, the governing body, can freeze an ordinance. An ordinance has full force and effect upon adoption. So what would happen is the council would have to amend that ordinance. That's the only way. So you can't really freeze something. Again, it's going to run forever until it's changed. When it's changed, it's changed. Now, any ordinance is changed. It has to be a first reading, it has to be adopted, and then there's a second reading, at which time there's public comment. So that would be the process. But I don't proactively sit down and write up an ordinance. I have to get input from borough council, and then I draft that ordinance for the first reading for adoption. So I'm not the guy to talk to about creating an ordinance. I draft it. It's the will of the council that would set forth that.
Sure. No, my question for you is just what's legally possible. Yes.
Okay.
I think you meant like freeze applications, didn't you, for property, for uses or whatever?
I guess my overall, I
think that was a
probably.
I mean, I think that's what you're
Although to Councilmember Verga, I thought that might be part of what you were saying. But the answer to that is no, you can't, from a land use perspective, or have a planning board application that's frozen pending.
Right.
You just can't
Just-
freeze it.
My overall, and I don't know exactly how that would get executed upon, but my overall observation, having spent a lot of time reading reports and learning about land use over the last 6 months, is that we learned in the McDonald's hearing that once a use becomes an approved use, there are certain assumptions that are made about the town deciding that the town can handle the impact of that use. I'm not aware, if this was done, I would love to see it, I'm not aware that that type of evaluation was ever done. So my request would be, let's do that evaluation
So I can tell
and
you
amend the ordinance as you guys would see fit.
that evaluation was done when that ordinance, that was a 2-year, process, at least, putting that together, which included, well, not Bill exactly, but his partner, our engineer, our traffic people, our planner, they were all,
I didn't see it in the report though.
what,
The report of Liz Lahaney.
I think Liz Lahaney wrote the report for the ordinance. You know, the reasoning about it, and I can get you that, you know.
Oh, I opened it, so I have it.
Oh, okay. So
But
you
I
have
guess
the
I was
report.
it just said that it was not inconsistent with the master plan,
Yeah, I mean,
and
there
that was
were,
it.
you know, there were dozens of meetings between the planning board, the council, business development committee, our professionals. I think everybody, was involved in putting those uses, taking some uses out and putting some uses in. So,
Okay.
you know, it was a collaborative, project with a lot of people.
I would at least request that maybe it be considered that we remove drive-through restaurants and maybe also consider making it more difficult to merge two lots. I know that there are some towns that require that to be a special application, but the way that Morris Plains defines the word subdivision, my understanding is that it's not required here. But some municipalities do require that, and it sounds like that maybe was not an issue that was on everybody's radar, so maybe that would be something to look into.
So-
The ordinance committee would probably look into.
Yeah, so what I can tell you is, you know, as far as my committee goes, right, so it's myself, Art, and Tyler, that are on the committee, so I'm chair of the committee.
Okay.
We have been looking at that ordinance, there's other ordinances too that we've been looking at as well. But, you know, that one I'm aware of the impact that has. So I've already shared some ideas with them, but we need to kind of flesh it out a little bit more, and then bring it back to the council, because as the mayor said, right, I believe maybe it was John that said, it's ultimately the council who makes the ordinances, right? So it is up to us, and as chair of the ordinance committee, it's on my list,
Okay.
and it's at
Yeah.
the top of it, so.
But to the freezing point, right? I know like that's not gonna happen overnight, but I don't know if procedurally or legally there's a way to do this, but is there a way that while things are under review, I don't know if that's possible, but it would be, I think, offer some peace of mind to a lot of people that are worried about like what's gonna be the next thing,
Yeah,
until it gets reviewed.
So what happens there is when a planning board application goes in for any development, okay, whatever the ordinances that are adopted at the time of the submission of the application are what governs, all right? So you can't then, again, you can't freeze that application
yeah,
going forward. But I think to your point is you're hoping to get the ordinance amended sooner rather than later, so that the application.
Yeah.
I understand your question, it's a good thought, but,
I get the duty that is owed, you know, to applicants. And,
so I'll just tell you, I've been a councilman for 3 weeks, and the fact that I've already been looking into this, it was one of the first things I started doing.
Yeah.
So I hate the phrase "it takes time," but you know we do have to look into it. We do have to make sure we do it properly and all that stuff. But it is at the very top of my list to look at. So.
Okay.
And I would respectfully disagree with the mayor that it was a collaborative process. I think that the Business Development Committee did have an initial look at brainstorming some thoughts and met with the planner on them. And then it went to the planning board, and the master plan committee really took it from there. And we had a couple of opportunities to see it, but there really was not the kind of like collaborative effort that I would have liked. And I kept asking when we could get public input, and the answer I got was that when we introduce it, we'll get public input. I would have liked to have it be more like a master plan process where we get feedback from people about what uses they would like to see before we got to a draft. That didn't happen. I don't know if that's possible this time, but I think it's something that I would like to see, especially because of where we are right now as a result.
I meant collaborative and brought a bunch of people in. So
A bunch of people
council,
looked at it.
you were on the council and on the business development committee, so I think, you know, you did have part of that, they did have part of that.
Correct.
Our professionals, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And anything we do
Depends on the changes.
So,
It's generally-
it's not just by us, it's gotta, whatever we do, we'll recommend it to the planning board, if I'm not mistaken, they gotta okay it, then it comes back to
Yeah.
us.
I know it's a process, I just wanted, I think everybody would appreciate knowing that it's being worked on.
I can assure you, it is being worked on.
Yeah, great.
I already gave my feedback to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nancy Mirabell, 349 Lane. At the last planning board meeting, I asked if there were plans to do an air quality study in the area around the McDonald's site. The planning board said that was not their responsibility, and perhaps it was the council's. So it was going to be checked into. Is it the council's responsibility to do that before the McDonald's site gets developed?
So I think it's something that the applicant for that property has to be approached by. I'll let Bill, because we do have performance standards that they have to meet as well. But it's, anyway, go ahead. And then I'll-
Mayor, so the borough will not perform air quality tests at McDonald's. The developer will, at the time they finish the project, and we will do a baseline air quality. They will do, I should say. And then in operation, we'll do a test to see if they're still in compliance with the
Okay.
ordinance standards.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is about code enforcement. And this is just for my knowledge, because I don't know. Does a code enforcement officer drive around looking for any violations in the town?
Typically, yes, he's part-time, he works 2 days a week, and he typically drives around and looks for issues or problems. He also gets phone calls, he also does plans, he does a lot of other things in there just besides looking for issues. But if people get in touch with him, he goes and addresses those issues, but yes, he's out and about through town.
Okay,
You know.
so now if someone has or brings to his attention some problem, does he report back to that person
More than
about anything?
more than likely, if the person contacts him, he will get back in touch with the person.
Okay,
He
If-
prefers that, as a matter of fact, than going through one of us, because
Okay.
then you can find out exactly, it's not third party, you can find out exactly what the issue is for the person.
and is there a timeline for all of that? or-
Depends on what it is.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Joann Dugan, 31 Campion Place. I just had a question about the CO for the McDonald's property. It stated that they have to comply with all the, regulations and everything before they can get their CO. I want to know how they can comply with something before they're operational, when they have 700 to 800 cars coming through a day and they're not cooking anything. How can they get a CO and comply before they're operational?
So again, I'll let Bill touch on the.
So some of the items, we will require that they have all their equipment in operation, the fans, the ventilators, air conditioning equipment, et cetera. They typically, an operation like this will have a temporary certificate of occupancy issued for equipping the building, for startup training and all that. And while that's going on, they'll be cooking, so the tests will be done with that in operation.
Okay, but is that gonna be the same?
It's fully operational, but, then they have the light test, they have the noise test at the property lines at night, during the day, because there's two different
Right, but what
standards
about-
for that.
What about the traffic that's going through?
There'll be certain cars there, there'll be initial delivery trucks, so we'll have that sound.
Will 800 cars a day be going through during that?
No, obviously not.
Okay,
It's
so
at
they
a
can't,
single, it's at a time, Joanne, so if they request whatever it was, I don't remember the number, 10 cars, 12 cars in the drive-through lane with the speaker going and the air conditioning units on and whatever else, at the property lines, it can only be 50 decibels, whatever it is. And at nighttime, same thing. It can't exceed that standard.
Right, there's only a certain
It's not
number
a-
of
it's
cars
not a-
there at any time in any event, there's not 800 cars there at the same time.
they have to comply with those cars going through, and there has to be testing before they get the CO.
Yes, the permanent CO.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The temporary CO is so that they can occupy the building safely. Doesn't mean they're open for business, it's just people can be inside, the fireworks, the electrical's fine, all that kind of, that's what a temporary is.
Okay.
Joe Amorosa, 20 Dayton Road. Two kind of requests or questions. Can the traffic committee be elevated from advisory status to regular status?
I think it's just an advisory board, traffic committee.
I understand it's an advisory board. Can it become a full committee with regular meetings and regular agendas and public
I don't know by
participation?
statute how that will work. We'd have to look into that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, offhand, my recollection is that it cannot be elevated to that status, but I'll take a look into that.
What rule has to be changed to make it a full committee?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
It's a state statute you're talking about?
It's a state statute?
It may be, that's what he's gonna look at.
Oh,
No, it's governed by state statutes, not local.
how can the general public participate in traffic decisions made in town?
You can make recommendations to the traffic committee, you can make recommendations to the chief, you can make recommendations to the council. We have a liaison right here.
Public safety.
Yeah, public safety, or a liaison that can bring stuff back to you, or to the committee.
Great, okay. Can the borough look into a complete streets policy?
I think we've kind of touched on complete streets. I don't know if that is 100% doable in Morris Plains. We've had Trans Options at the time do a survey of everything in town, but complete streets is a huge undertaking for the borough to do with employees, the amount of work involved. I think it was touched on, Nancy may have touched on it a little bit. Am I
Yeah, I
incorrect?
think it kind of got buried, and I think that since the traffic committee is an advisory board of the council, because advisory boards are of the council, I think we as a council can decide that we want the traffic committee to move forward with exploring more about complete streets and how we can adopt it in a way that can be scaled to the borough. Because I think that the priorities of complete streets, of zero fatalities, all the conditions that they want to try to help us to make our roads safer for all types of traffic, vehicles, pedestrians, wheelchairs, etc., are something that we all believe in. So I think that we could find a way to scale that complete streets program to something that the borough could accomplish. And I would ask this board to support requesting that the traffic committee spend their, expertise. I know that, I believe you're a traffic engineer and sitting on that committee. There's another individual who works on complete streets at the state level on that committee. And I don't feel they've been empowered to do that. And I think that we can, as a council, decide to empower them to do that and to bring that forward so that we invite them to come here to the council and explore how we can support this in a way we can scale.
I know there's been discussions with our engineer as far as complete streets and all that sort of thing throughout the boroughs also. It's a possibility.
But I think it has to be a policy that we adopt as a council and not, asking Bill if he could look into it. I think it's a policy that we have to explore how we pave our streets and do our crosswalk, design our crosswalks, and where we want traffic lights and things like that on our municipal streets. So I'm asking for the council to support.
Yeah, I 100%, absolutely in support of it.
Well, it's something I think you should get some information first.
But we have information.
Yeah,
We went
let's
to
get some information and the council can absolutely.
I think the concept of doing it is what Nancy's asking, right? You're asking.
I'm asking that we empower the traffic committee to move forward with a presentation to the council about how we could scale complete streets for the borough.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I think that's one thing we can do is improve communication between the council and the traffic committee and have them working together to implement some of these things.
I mean, my understanding of an advisory board is they work on projects that we as a council feel are important for the town. So
Right.
we should be influencing what the projects are that they're looking into exploring, how often they meet, how often they report back to us, et cetera.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Let them look into it.
We have a meeting Monday.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be in my public safety report, yeah, we have a meeting Monday, so.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Paul Clorely, 18 Hillview Avenue, Morris Plains. The basic question, and I didn't see, I've read as much of the paperwork as I could, get my hands on and that sort of thing. I was just wondering about enforcement. McDonald's opens up, they're building up, they don't meet the standards. Now what?
They are in
Zoning violation.
zoning
Right,
violation.
so what's the
It could be a Board of Health violation, it could be a zoning violation, it could be a Title
so how do-
39 violation.
What's the
Those
fine?
departments handle those.
How do we have the, what is the fine, how is it enforced?
Well, before they have to comply with all that before they can even open up.
Right, but as you know, with any kind of business, things change. 5 minutes after a fryer gets really too hot, things will change.
So those things are always, they're in perpetuity, those performance standards that they
Right.
have to meet, same state law, same,
Got it.
everything else, so.
So my question is
If somebody-
enforcement. How
Yeah,
does
if
it get
somebody
enforced?
or our people that do enforcing find a violation, just like the Board of Health goes in for food inspections, that, today they may be good, tomorrow their freezers might be up to 40 where they don't work, right? They find that information out and they get fined accordingly, or they
So,
get,
is there a
the
schedule?
problem gets fixed accordingly.
Is there a schedule of fines?
I believe there is a schedule of fines for each violation, sure.
Are the fines high enough that a corporation such as McDonald's would have to blink?
I don't think anybody wants to be fined or anything, or be not in compliance. And if it gets strict enough, or, if they can put an order on there to close the door, just like any other restaurant and whatever, but I think the fines have to be across the board. It has to be for the pizza store
sure.
as well as McDonald's, so, I could put a $10,000 fine on one thing, but a pizza place is not gonna be able to afford the same $10,000 fine.
I'm not asking that something be uneven. I'm just asking if there's a schedule of fines.
Yeah, but you said
Somebody
it's
can say,
worth it, so, that's just what I was answering that question.
Just so you know too, sir, to answer your question, if there is a local zoning violation or ordinance that is violated by McDonald's, right, that's enforced here through our local municipal court.
Right.
Your question about the scheduling of fines is, generally speaking, a fine that would be connected to an establishment such as McDonald's has a scale where initially the fine goes, I think it depends upon the municipality, some are $12.50, others are $2,000. But they then, after a certain period of time, start to become a per diem penalty, because McDonald's isn't gonna bat an eyelash over $2,000.
That's my point.
Right? But at some point, it gets up over hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you see it in a lot of towns, not McDonald's, but you will see it in municipalities here in Morris County. So, to answer your question, yes. And then, depending upon the violation itself, it can rise to the point, then you shut them down too, if it's a health issue or something like that. So there's different types of violations, but a violation with McDonald's would or could rise to the level of a per diem penalty, and then it doesn't matter how many hamburgers you sell, it's gonna become a problem. So, I hope that answers your question.
It does mostly. I'm just wondering if there was a place where I could go to look to see what those fines might be. I'm sure that the.
It's
zoning officer
somewhere in our
would
code,
be
sir,
$10.
just in the borough
Should
code.
be all online code.
Right, it's in the code.
Okay, great.
I think we have a catch-all provision that it's up to $2,000. But then there's also, you'll see language that triggers that per diem violation, because otherwise, $2,000 to most businesses is a drop in the hat.
Sure.
And that's why they elevate it to a per diem penalty, because that's when you really start to whack them.
Good.
So,
All right, and I could find that where?
it's in the borough code. It's
Borough code.
ecode360.com.
260. Thank you.
If you go to,
Or something like that.
No, it's 360.
our website, government, and then the drop-down menu, you'll see ordinances and code, click on that, it'll bring you to that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Seeing nobody else, I close the public portion. Move on to reports of committees and or department heads. Finance, Ms. Verga.
So it's been a pleasure already working with finance, because I get to be in the clerk's office a lot, and with finance, they're always doing great work in there. Clerk's office is really busy right now, as usual. As you saw, we're seeking an entry-level admin assistant for them. That information's on the Borough website if you know anyone. They have worked on pet licenses. We have 380 dogs so far licensed this year and 73 cats. The deadline is tomorrow. If you're after that, you get a little penalty, so get those in. Our year-end report shows that we took in $11,404 in 2024 for animal licensing, and then $56,500 in other permits and fees for marriage certificates, parking permits, garage sale, raffle permits, all those other things. So some income there. Right now, they're also working on renewing parking permits and solicitor's permits and those types of things. They already have done 52 over requests, or they have requests for 52 over requests for January alone. And they hope to work on the FEMA flood maps that we mentioned here. So we've been trying to keep our residents informed as a courtesy and in the loop on what's going on with FEMA drafting flood maps with their the flood zone. And they've been working on this for decades. But I attended a meeting with Bill before Bill was in office, so I went with Bill Ryden, our engineer, to a meeting with FEMA and the DEP. And we decided to let the residents know who are on the maps as a courtesy that they're on the map and it may impact their homeowners insurance, etc. So Bill was able to identify 28 properties in the borough that are on the maps. And so we drafted a letter for the mayor to sign and sent it to the 28 residents. I think it went out today's mail, in US mail, to let them know that they're there and how they can apply if they disagree with the findings of FEMA and the DEP. So there's some information in there about how to do that. In finance, the CFO Anna Thomas has been working on year-end reports. She submitted our annual debt statement for the borough to the Department of Community Affairs. The borough paid down $187,389 in municipal obligations in 2024, so we're lowering our debt. Well, last year we did. Report of taxes collected, she also had to prepare, I think that was on our agenda for tonight. Our gross receipts in the calendar year for 2024 was $37,807,596. Some of those funds were due in 2023 and some in 1Q 2025, but those were our receipts during the calendar year. She's also working on our annual financial statement and is preparing the annual budget for our upcoming council meetings by reviewing and inputting the department budget requests. For the borough website, our great webmaster Melissa Gibson is working on updating all the committee and board members for 2025 now that the reorg meetings have taken place. She reports that last year the borough weekly email added 171 new subscribers, and we're up to 1,965 subscribers. And the open rate for the weekly email is about 73%, which is great, a great open rate. In the past 30 days, 2,200 people visited the borough website. The top page viewed was agendas and minutes at 758, followed in the 500 range by rabies clinic, trash collection, and the page linking to the borough schools. So that's great. People are coming here to look at our great school system, looking to move into town. I mentioned earlier that Downtown Morris Plains is working on an enhanced business directory that we hope to replace the one that's on the borough website, which is not quite up to date. And that's it for finance.
Great. Public safety.
Alrighty, so realize I might be in the honeymoon stage still, but also had a really fun last few weeks getting to kind of get in touch with everybody. I met with Chief Koroski, the chief of police, multiple times, 3 times already. We were able to do a full tour of the police department. I got introductions to a lot of the police officers, the Seagull. We were able to go over some of the priorities for this year, one of which was passed tonight, which is the hiring of a new officer. I think that's great news. Just going over the vehicles and the maintenance and a lot of the needs that we're going to have this year. Chief also gave me his budget, which I started to look over. So The Public Safety Committee's gonna, look over that in depth, and as Nancy mentioned earlier, hopefully Chief will be able to present that. We did have a public safety meeting with Art, Sal, and I, and Chief Koroski as well. At that meeting, we had Mr. Dave Schulz go over some possible plans to renovate the current space that we have for the fire department and the police department, or the possibility of maybe moving it off-site. They developed a conceptual plans committee, which will be meeting in 2 weeks, where Dave's gonna really jump into that and present the options to the committee. We have an upcoming traffic committee meeting this Monday, so that will be the first one, at least since I've been involved, and we're gonna try to, go over some of those things that Joe and Nancy were saying. I also got to meet with Chief Rongo, the chief of the fire department. He showed me the entire firehouse and all the trucks. I was extremely impressed. He opened every compartment of the fire trucks, and I'll tell you right now, I feel very safe if anything happens in Morris Plains here. He also just kind of went over some of the priorities for the new year. He was waiting on a couple more things for the capital budget, but that should be in now as well. Something both Chris Shea from fire prevention and both chiefs mentioned was the digitizing of records. As you can see in the home next to the fire department, there's like a whole tree's worth of paperwork stacked up there. So I do think that's something that could really help move the borough forward. I also got to meet with Chris Shea. He's the head of fire prevention. Really just went over a lot of the inspection processes in building versus homes. He is changing his schedule, which was also approved tonight. He's gonna start coming in 2 days a week at 7:30. That he typically would come in at 8:30, but he expressed to me, which I do understand being in real estate, that by coming in at 7:30, he could probably add 1 to 3 extra inspections per day, because a lot of people leave for work around 8:30 as an example, so he'd be able to meet them prior to them going to work. One really neat statistic in Chris's breakdown from last year was, as some of you are aware, that it was a part-time position from January to May. And during that time, he was able to do 157 inspections. When the position was made full-time from June to December, he did 909 inspections. So quite a difference there. And the revenue was quadruple as well. So really exciting to see that full-time position, in my opinion, is really paying off, and he's really able to get the inspections when we need them. At the next meeting, I will have an update on the courts. We've been doing a little bit of back and forth there, but that'll be my final stop on the public safety tour.
Very good. We'll go to Chief Rongo first, since I always forget you. Chief, you have anything? Everybody says Chief Rongo's back. It's
Forget department of the town.
Forget it.
So I said,
Jeez. You sit way in the back.
I like sitting in the back.
You should be up here with your name.
Ah, fine.
See, that's why I forget you.
Not much going on. We have 30 alarms for 30 days. How's that sound?
Perfect.
One a day. So we're still busy. The ladder is getting closer to returning. A couple faults they found in the testing, so hopefully that'll be back by next week. We did 2 training events in January. We did a drill at the off-site at the, we got invited over with Mount Tabor to the old Tomac Motel to training over there on probably the coldest night of the year. And we had, like I said, at reorg, we had 27 members there, so we had a good turnout for that drill. And then we just did our right to know refresher for the year. So everybody's up to date with all their.
What about the whistle?
I have to wait for the truck to get back so I can get on the roof. I gotta measure.
Can't you borrow shared service?
Well, from what I heard though, Township's ladder's out. Tabor doesn't have a ladder, theirs is coming.
What about Cedar Mills?
Cedar Mills doesn't have a ladder. We're the only ladder in town. See, we are shared service.
How about the old style, like the
Okay,
old fire?
I'll hold the ladder, you can climb.
I'll go.
But once the truck comes back, I get up on the roof and then I can measure the height, because we're gonna put a pole, not a pole, but like a antenna stand. And that's gonna be
You picked
mounted.
one out already?
Mounted to the, what's that?
Did you pick out a
Yeah.
unit?
Yeah. We're gonna mount that to the roof and to the building, so it doesn't sway and I've been told that it's gonna hold it, so. Good, we'll go from there.
Progress.
Yeah, progress.
Great.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good meeting, thank you for coming, spending your time,
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Now my kids wanna come, so.
When the truck comes back, I'll invite you back.
Fair enough.
Anytime, doors always open.
Thank you.
Chief.
Good evening. Thank you to Tyler for jumping in feet first with a standing coffee meeting every Monday between 9 and 9:30, and we're getting a lot accomplished already. So I really want to thank the mayor and council for their resolution appointing or starting the hiring process for a police officer. We've been historically 17 police officers for my entire tenure here. In 2023, we added an 18th, and now we're adding. So this is not a replacement of an officer. This is the borough investing in the future growth. So adding a police officer, hopefully relatively soon. Your police vehicle that had been delivered in December got its graphics applied and is down at the shop getting all the lights and sirens and other bells and whistles, as they say, attached to it. We'll hopefully have that by the end of February. It has been alluded to multiple times. The budget request is into finance, and I'm currently drafting the 2025 capital budget request. And then in addition to that, all of our annual reports are submitted to the state and the county as required, with multiple reports added to our department website. Take a look at those for our year-end 2024. It's quite successful. I thank all of our police officers for their dedication to this community. Doing a great job to keep us safe. So, my report. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Public Works, Mr. Bruhn.
Thank you. I just wanted to add on to public safety real quick. There was a resident on Oldwood that was out for the day. They came home and they smelled an odor when they returned, and it smelled like an electrical fire. They called 911. Within minutes, the police department showed up, fire department, and the ambulance. They had complimented Fire Marshal Shea and Chief Rongo for spending the time to go through the house. They went and checked the attic, the basement, electrical panels, all the walls for heat. They didn't find any problems. The problem that they determined was in the furnace. One of the electrical fans seemed to burn out. They recommend calling a plumber or an HVAC contractor to confirm that, which they did and did confirm. She went on to compliment the members of the fire department were incredibly thorough, competent. In addition to that, Fire Marshal Shea was very terrific at communicating to us what was going on with the findings, and Chief Rongo showed great leadership at the fire call. They were glad there was no fire, and it was the source from the furnace. And fortunately, later that night, the contractor was able to fix that. Fire Marshal Shea stopped by the following Monday to follow up to see how they made out with the smell. So she just complimented everyone who showed up for us, including the police, all the members of the fire department, and Minutemen were amazing. We're grateful to live in Morris Plains, and that we have an incredibly safety support. So I just wanted to share that with them. And many of you know I'm a volunteer fireman. I'm not as active as I used to be, but it makes me feel proud to read something like that. So good job.
It's nice that somebody actually took the time.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, they did a letter to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Public Works, I'll start with the compliment there. I got a phone call. They thought the resident was calling me, thought they were calling over at the DPW building looking for the superintendent. I'm the liaison, so she said, I just want to compliment after the last big storm that we had, how quickly the DPW guys were out plowing the streets, salting the roads, and just want to compliment. So I said, well, listen, we don't get many calls like that, but they reach out. So I said, would you call? So I gave her the number, and they reached over to compliment them directly. So it was another good job, so appreciate all their hard work. DPW continues to pick up garbage around the parks every day, work on our town vehicles. Again, mentioned about the snow plowing the roads and salt. They're keeping up a great job with that. I believe tomorrow is the last day for Christmas tree pickup, so if you still have your tree, I am guilty of that. I have one outside, so.
You don't put it out, you'll be cold.
Yeah. And then they received 2 trucks that it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. They finally arrived, so I don't know if it was COVID issues, but
2 years.
2 years ago. So we're in receipt of trucks that were needed to replace older trucks that were outdated and falling apart. And we did use our pusher. We have a big loader. It's a big backhoe. They take the big bucket off and they put this pusher on. Over at our new developments on American Road and Tabor Road, the tons of parking and driveways, there's not a lot of places to push the snow, so this kind of goes down, makes a clear cut instead of dumping left or right into a resident's driveway. So that worked well, and the residents seemed pretty much satisfied. There's always one or two complaints, but overall, it was a good success.
I think that was our new assistant superintendent.
Yep, exactly, yep, that's right.
Worked out well.
So our new acting assistant superintendent is now superintendent has passed his classes that he was required to take, so appreciate your dedication in getting that done, so yeah, that's all done. For those that don't know, he's unique. He was born and raised in Morris Plain, currently a resident, is our fire chief and works for the town, so we appreciate all you do, Jim. So, just beautification, well, they're still in hibernation, waiting for the snow. They're looking forward to the spring planting and making the town beautiful. That's all I have.
Great. Bill, engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have updates on two ongoing items. First one is the Tabor Road warehouses. They're complete, the sites are completely done, the warehouses are fully completed. All our site testing has been completed. What they're pursuing now is administrative items to get their certificates of occupancy. Among those things they need to do are the developers agreements, which you just were authorized to sign tonight. Others are sign-offs from outside agencies, et cetera. So that's moving along slowly, and I'll probably have a similar update next month, but that's that one. The other update is on our sidewalk project on Route 53 from the affordable housing building up to the traffic light. We had some feedback from DOT on our plans that needed some revisions. We resubmitted those just last week. We expect to get a response within a month, and we'll be ready to go out to bid following that, if all is in order.
Another long-time project finally coming.
Yeah, well, let's hope. The other thing I have is one new item, and that was the flood hazard maps that were presented by FEMA. Councilperson Verga went over most of it. We attended the meeting on December 20th at the Morris County facility out on West Hanover Avenue. So we're working on maps, we're distributing the information as was said. So that's all I have.
Good, thank you very much. Public Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Cortese.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with Shade Tree. They met in the reorg meeting in January, and Mike Lombardi was elected the chair, and Robert McAleer was vice chair. Arbor Day chair would be Frank Trusler. There was a lot of talk about bringing more species of native species of trees in 2025. Also, the commission wants to be accredited. By doing this, it opens up the doors to get grants, so we can get more money and put more trees and keep Morris Plains beautiful. We also had a recreation meeting. Family Day will be, mark your calendar, 6/28, June 28th, 25. Lots of fun. And fireworks, of course, the best in probably the state. As I say, east of Mississippi, the best fireworks. You can't beat Morris Plains fireworks. They come from all over the country. He also talked about some of the parks and Community Park. They want to remove the sandbox. It's very, very old, and maybe come up with a different concept to keep it, as sanitary as possible. And also, there's a couple of horseshoe pits, and pretty much, just have to be refreshed. What was interesting with the at the teen center, they thought about paving an area, there's been a lot of talk about that. They want to put a half-court basketball for the kids. So what I recommended was, Bill, maybe with the summer asphalt jobs, if I can get an area delineated, I'll go there and mark it all out. Maybe we can get a pricing from whoever gets awarded the contract or whatever. Well, they'll probably do it, even better. I couldn't make the parade meeting, but I know the mayor went, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a debrief of last year's parade, but it's kicked off here, and we have a lot of new and exciting ideas coming up for 2025. We're putting certain things in place for if people can't show up for 2025, we're gonna try to book them for 2026, some of these things, it's our 100-year anniversary, so getting some people already in line for 2026. But it was a good meeting. I think there's a lot of great ideas there, and we'll put it all together and have a great one here in May.
Sanitation and Sewers, I want this to be the longest report. Since you weren't here, you were nominated for this position. This is what happens when you don't show up. Step back, step up thing, you know?
I kept it, I stayed for the January transition until we got somebody, so I attended the Board of Health. I can give you a quick update on that. They had their meeting.
You're covered.
Their annual reorg. I told everybody I was gonna transition you since I had that last, and they're grateful because they don't wanna be left out in the cold here. So, the annual reorg meeting in January, they renewed their board members, same members. They reelected Dr. O'Reilly as president and Pam Nelson as vice president, secretary Carol Howell, and the town vet is Dr. Timothy Werner. The rabies clinic, they conducted 217 vaccines in 2 hours, about one every 33 seconds. It was amazing. They used a new superior online registration system developed by one of the board members, 2 of the board members actually, put that together and it made things go much more smoothly.
You have to update the Wi-Fi over there, don't forget it.
Okay, update Wi-Fi.
Over
And,
to that other building.
okay. Did you get Wi-Fi at the teen center?
Can I?
And they voted to keep their budget flat for 2025. Municipal Alliance met on January 6th. Rosaria DeNova, who's actually here with us tonight, is working on the 2nd annual Family Fitness Day scheduled for April 5th at the Community Center. There's going to be some jazzercise, taekwondo, pure bar, and country line dancing, so bring your boots and hats, it's going to be fun. Teen Center had a successful skate night last Friday at Menin. I brought my skates and so did John, and I forgot how hard the ice is. So I was there, Mayor was there.
Only in sneakers though, no skates.
It was a good time. Bill was there, it was a fun time, his daughter as well. We got 2 new registered teens that night walking in, so that was great. And there's gonna be information, actually information's out now for registered families about the upcoming Valentine's Day dance, not Valentine's Day, Valentine's dance for the Teen Center. And for Green Team, we're working on plans for an Earth Day event at the Mars Plains Community Center, looking at the date of Saturday, May 10th, even though it's not Earth Day, but that scheduling worked out the best from 9 to 11 in the morning. And that's it.
Ordinances of public utilities, Bill.
Yeah, so, I've been the chairperson for Ordinance of Public Utilities, served with Art and Tyler on my committee. It also means I'm the liaison to the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Planning Board. These are all things I found out on Planning Board. I'm a Class 3 member, which is defined as a member of the governing body. And one of the things I was wanted to understand is the difference between the Zoning Board and the Planning Board, and why where each application goes. The mayor and Mr. Schulz can correct me if I'm incorrect in this, but if the application includes a subdivision or site plan approval and is not a permitted use, it goes before the zoning board. If it is a permitted use, it goes before the planning board. There's a lot more nuance to that, including like D&C variances, but that's the gist. And then those permitted uses are defined by ordinances, which, as we said earlier, which is what the council review and approve or deny. So that's just a very quick, high-level explanation of the difference between the planning board and the zoning board. So on the planning board update, they had the reorganization meeting January 20th. They elected Mike Garavaglia as the new chairperson and John Bezold as the new vice chairperson. Per state statute, there were 2 new members assigned by the mayor to the planning board, myself, as I mentioned earlier, as class 3 council liaison, and Andrew Wolf as a new class 4 member with a 4-year term. They memorialized 1 application, PB1-24, which is McDonald's, and reviewed another application, which was PB4-24, which is 109 Mountain Way, for completeness. And then a 3rd application, which is PB3-24, known as Crossings 10, was deferred to the February 10th planning board meeting. On the zoning board of adjustment update, they had their reorganization meeting on January 27th. Mr. Dave Schulz is actually here tonight. They reelected him as the chairperson. Dave has served 20 years on the zoning board. So congratulations to Dave. He did indicate at that meeting that he'd like to step down as chair next year as he finishes out his final 2 years of duty. So thanks again, Dave. They reelected Doug McCabe as the vice chairperson. let's see, as the mayor mentioned at a reorg meeting, January 7th, per state statute, there were 2 members reappointed to the zoning board, Doug McCabe and Daniel Rizos. And they memorialized 1 application and held public hearings on 2 other applications. Also, just another thank you. Dave said at the zoning board meeting, but Karen Coffey, who's the secretary, served 31 years for both the planning board and the board of adjustment. So that's a real milestone for sure. So I know she's not here tonight, but figured it, kudos was in order. Construction office update. So I met with all the construction officials and the clerks of the annex. For December 2024, the annex office brought in $8,203 in permit revenue. There were 50 certificates issued and 31 permits pulled. All 50 certificates were for privately owned buildings, 48 were for CA or construction administration, which means that the engineer, planner, inspectors are all following up on the work. 2 were for TCOs or temporary certificates of occupancy, which means that part of a building is okayed for use, but still needs a permanent CO before it can be occupied full-time, as was mentioned earlier. All 31 permits were for private buildings, 30 were for alterations to existing properties, 1 was for demolition. And we had 1 property sold and no new properties purchased in December 2024. The inspectors completed 121 inspections in December of 2024. 44 were building, 35 electrical, 33 plumbing, and 9 fire. It's all in 1 month. The other thing is they're implementing a new records management system over there called SDL, or Spatial Data Logic. In June 2021, the Assembly Bill 1145 was written into law. This bill requires local municipalities to use an electronic permit processing review system for filing any New Jersey construction and building permit forms. It is meant to spur innovation and increase quality of service for constituents. They're transferring over to this SDL software system, which is going to make it easier for everybody over there to search for permits, records, ties all the information together. A lot of the neighboring towns already use it: Morris Township, Chatham Borough, Harding, Madison, Randolph, so the inspectors are familiar with it. The first phase was migrating all the data, which they've done. In the meantime, they set up a test server environment, which they're also going through. And then they go through training with the expectation that a go live will be sometime in March of 2025. I mentioned in conference, we also chatted about digitizing all the documents, which is something that we may want to sync up with for the police department and fire department. But essentially they would come in, they'd scan all the documents to the cloud or put it on a drive so that we can get them into a records management system. And this way, it will cut down significantly on the amount of time that they need to search for documents and plans for residents.
So
Yes.
just interrupt you, just want to
Yeah.
think about it, make sure that you could get in touch with our IT.
Yep.
And so he's involved with any of those.
Yeah, he's already
Storage,
he's already been involved, but I will make a note
Yeah,
to.
anything like that, so he's up to date.
You got it, we'll do. Just a quick update on the SMCMUA. As most residents have seen, the SMCMUA is performing utility work throughout town. They're installing new water main. The contractor is the Schroeder Group. They are providing weekly updates on their website, which if you go to the borough website, you can get their updates there. They've got 2 crews out from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. Over the last few weeks, they've done Stiles, Diana, Maple, West Hanover, Birch Drive. Next week, they'll be on Stiles and Maple. They'll start doing service line transfers. I think Chief Koroski put out a notice, just to read it out here. As most residents have seen, SMCMUA is performing utility work throughout town. They're installing new water main, and the work is being contracted by the Schroeder Group. Recently, and this is the police department, we were advised that there's a company going around attempting to provide paving services associated with the project. We want everyone to know that this company is not affiliated with the Water Authority or the Schroeder Group. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call the police department. So thanks, Chief, for keeping us safe. Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, are you going to do an affordable housing update?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay.
We can vote on it. And
Yeah.
You can touch on something.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna give just a quick update. So myself, as the council liaison, Mayor Karr, Mr. Schulz, Art, Sue McCluskey, Frank Dreutzler, and Liz Lahaney, Bill Ryden, Leon Hall, and who am I forgetting?
Or Ed Buzak.
Oh, Ed Buzak, right, he's the attorney. So as part of the Affordable Housing Committee, per state law that was passed last year, the milestone set forth by the state, by January 31st, 2025, the council has to provide, so that being tomorrow, the council has to provide what we think is an acceptable number of affordable housing units based on the formulas that New Jersey DCA has given us. Some municipalities are challenging these numbers, some have just accepted them. However, the DCA's data is flawed by their own admission, where they're counting developable plots of land in the total calculation. Our planner, Liz, has analyzed the data to make our numbers more accurate, which is an actual boots on the ground number instead of an aerial map. What we're going to be voting on tonight is actually that lower number. So that's it's kind of a quick kind of overview of what we've done. I got a really I don't know. It was a great education for me on how we got these numbers. So that's one of the resolutions we're going to be voting on tonight. The last two things here. So on a training note, so Tyler and I on Saturday we're going to be going to the NJLM, New Jersey League of Municipalities, newly elected orientation on Saturday, February 1st. I don't know if there's time to get you in there, Mike, but Tyler and I are going to that. It's basically, it brings the officials up to date on important municipal issues. We get a thorough overview of the major areas of our major areas of responsibility. So for me, that'd be ordinances. And it's an opportunity to informally discuss experiences and share ideas with experienced local officials. So that's we're doing that on Saturday. And then just last kind of general comments I have. So I want to congratulate Sal on his granddaughter Camilla, who was born January 21st, right? So congratulations, Sal. And I know he's not going to like me for doing this, but I believe the mayor just celebrated his birthday a couple days ago on Tuesday, right? So happy belated birthday.
25.
Mayor.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Introductions of ordinances. Bill.
Hold on a second. I'm talking too much. All right. I, Councilmember Houston, introduce the following ordinance and read the same by title and move that it be passed on the first reading. Ordinance number 1-2025, an ordinance amending ordinance number 10-2024, creating a custodial building maintenance position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese.
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn.
Yes.
Mr. Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Pontier.
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Abstain.
I, Councilmember Houston, offer the following resolution, whereas the above ordinance was introduced and read by title at this meeting on January 30th, 2025, and passed on the first reading. Now therefore be it resolved that at a meeting to be held on February 20th, 2025 at 8:30 p.m. prevailing time at the municipal building in the said borough, this council will further consider for second reading and final passage the said ordinance. And be it further resolved that the clerk of this borough is hereby directed to publish and mail the proper notice including the ordinance, post the ordinance on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and to make copies available to members of the general public.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
One abstention? The ayes have it. We have no ordinances on second reading. We do have resolutions, Mr. Cortese.
Resolutions 2025-35 entitled, Resolution of the Borough of Morris Plains, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, committing to round 4 present and prospective need affordable housing obligations. Resolution 2025. Oh,
So, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese.
yes.
Mr. Bruhn.
Yes.
Mr. Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Pontier.
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Abstain.
Thank you.
So, this ordinance here is accepting, or not accepting, a number of 137 units of affordable housing in Morris Plains and reducing that number down to 106 units of affordable housing in Morris Plains And that was done really by the lessening of the acreage of land that we have available for affordable housing. The state came up with 36 acres roughly of buildable property in Morris Plains, and through the work of the committee and Liz and Bill and everybody, we've dropped that number down to 12 acres of buildable property. So a lot of the properties that the state put in there was open space or wetlands or steep slopes or whatever. Some other already owned properties, VFW, things like that. So we had to carefully go through each property that they listed and get lot and blocks and see what's deed restricted, what's not restricted. So there was a lot of work there to be done. So there'll be a lot more coming up on this, but this is the first step that the borough had to take on this new initiative that the state put on us. So Dave, I know you're really not prepared to speak. Was there anything you want to talk on it? And you're the chair of that committee. And
Sure. So
this is Dave Schulz.
Good evening. We had 6 meetings since the governor signed the law in March. When you get through the noise of the law and the regulations, it really boils down to a formula. 3 factors: average them out times the acreage. Times the total county or the total region. Factors A and B, we agree with the state's assessment. Factor C, which is basically the land, what the state did is in a very short amount of time looked at the entire state on a GIS map on a computer screen and said, yeah, this looks buildable, this looks buildable, this looks buildable. So specific to Morris Plains, it included land under the high tension wires. It included parcels in the flood zone where DEP says you can't build there. It included parcels narrower than my driveway, my 1-car driveway, right? So led by Liz Laney, we went through bit by bit, piece by piece, and came up with 12 acres. You apply that 12 acres to the standard formula, and that's how we get to 106. Bill Houston asked me, what do I think of the number? I think it is data. It's not good data. It's not right. It's not wrong. It is the calculation. And I would stand up to anybody in the committee, anybody on NJ.com, any members of the public, and defend each one of these, right? There's not clarity in the law. There's logic here, which is the best we can do. So very comfortable with the number.
Which could revert back to the 137 if the state so, or DCA, whoever wants to say no, the number is 137. So,
right, we could be challenged.
Could be challenged. So, we're putting our best foot forward and have here, and we'll see what happens. And this isn't the end of this. I may go down again further, but we'll see how it all plays out. So.
And the current need is 0 by the state, and we agree with that. So the prospective need looking forward for the next 10 years is 106.
Thank you, Dave. Moving on, Sal.
Resolution 2025-36 entitled Resolution Consenting to Request of Hersman Urban Renewal Entity LLC for service outside the district of the Southeast Morris County Municipal Utility Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese?
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Pontier?
Yes.
Ms. Verga?
Yes.
And Mr. Ivey?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Resolution 2025-37 entitled Resolution Consenting to Request of S/K Mount Campbell Associates LLC for service outside the district of the Southeast Morris County Municipal Utility Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tyler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese?
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Pontier?
Yes.
Ms. Verga?
Yes.
Mr. Ivey?
Abstain.
Thank you.
So just in these last 2 resolutions, they're both the same as these 2 developers came to the Water Authority, which is 4 towns, Morris Township, Morris Plains, Hanover Township, and Morristown, requesting water service to be supplied to these developments. Combined, it's nearly 300 units, and we said put the brakes on that. We entered into a lawsuit, but then Some of the other municipalities had backed out, so we had backed out because it has to take all 4 municipalities to say yes or no to authorize this use. So some were saying yes, but we had the consent, obviously, here to supplying Harding Township water out of our SCMUA to supply these nearly 300 units of building, and which is they have an affordable aspect as well, and that's why we're forced to give them water. This is a huge concern of mine anyway. So this is Harding's obligation, and we have to supply them water. When we have what we just said, 106 times 5, is going to be over 500 units that Morris Plains is going to be responsible for, maybe. And then the other 4 municipalities, you're talking 1,000 and 500, I think, in Morris Township, which is, times 5 is 2,500 units there. You're talking the same thing or more in Hanover Township. So we have thousands of units that are going to be going on here in the surrounding towns in the next 10 years. And we have to provide this water to other municipalities for their obligation. To me, it's not fair. Morris Township's taking their sewage. Morris Township is also going to be supplying fire service to these because it's right off of Mount Kimball Avenue. So, some of these towns really should step up, in my opinion, and drill their own wells. Harding has to do that, I think, and then not rely on us to supply them with the water. With these developments, I think the water authority, will get, the water will be there, capacity will be there for our needs. But there was only a 500,000 gallon, I'll say, reserve after they supply these developments per day, I think it was, whatever it is. But that's not a lot of water, and we got a lot more units coming up here. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm disappointed. Nothing that anybody here did, just that we're now supplying outside municipalities for their needs. Anyway, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We do have vouchers, though, Mr. Cortese. I'm sorry, Ms. Verga. Just a habit.
Go to the money lady.
So we have your checklist of our expenditures from January, for the month of January. I move that the checklist for January 30th, 2025 be approved, and the total amount is $3,948,771.98.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cortese,
Yes.
Mr. Bruhn.
Yes.
Mr. Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Pontier,
Yes.
Ms. Verga,
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Abstain.
Thank you.
We do not need another executive session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second by Sal.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody ever opposed it, so we're out. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you.
We have 8.
We leave it going.
Get the water bottle out of it. Hurry up.